If you are considering renovating a house in Singapore, you must watch this. Hi guys, many of you may have seen this article. It says that rise in landed housing construction disputes and a new fix. Another article says that HDB flat owner wins high court case against contractor that shuttered firm before resolving dispute. Many will be thinking like, why renovation need to really go to a high court case? The reason why is because when above 20,000 in terms of claims, right, you cannot use small claim. You basically need to hire your own lawyer to go and fight your cases. And this prompts me to do this video because I went to check, right, Singapore Mediation Centre does approximately 400 to 500 mediations a year. When they say that 40% of them actually involves renovations and contractors, right, it means to say that there are 200 disputes per year. That is not including those people that didn't report it. So meaning to say that every other day there's actually a dispute, be it a renovation or a reconstruction. You know, buy property is actually a happy thing, right? When you buy the time, you're very excited, everything go through already, very happy. And during the renovation, you go into dispute, you need to go to court and all these things. Most owners won't even want to go to court. Why? Because when it is not a small claim, means to say that the legal fees involved for you to go and hire a lawyer has to be paid whether or not you win. In most cases, people will just, forget it lah, because the legal fees can be 20,000-30,000 if I go to high court or even more. And I mean, there's no guarantee I will win. So why am I going to go through all these things? In this very important matter that may cost like 5 or even up to 6 figures, right, I'm going to give you 6 tips for you to make sure you will not fall under such situations. Now, before we move on, right, you can hear that my voice is really very bad because in a few days time, I'll be actually going for a surgery for my tonsillitis and also my laryngo, basically some surgery onto my vocal cords because it's not working very well. I'll be going on a 2 weeks no talking break once again, and this enforced by the doctor. And I'm still out here doing this video for you, so if you can give me a little bit more encouragement and wish me luck for my operation, like this video because it's going to help me a great deal. Thank you so much. One thing that is not that common with illegal structure means to say that the previous owner actually did a structure over there or erected a wall without approval and you inherited it. So what can you do at this point in time? Number 2, neighbor complaints, which is super common. Why? Because when you're doing a renovation, there will definitely be a lot of noise, a lot of dust and workers walking in and out, which potentially could become an irritating situation for the neighbors beside, which prompt them to make things difficult for you, which I've personally witnessed for myself. Police come. Why? Because neighbors actually complained that the workers were actually disturbing them and all these kind of things. They even involved the police, which if you ask me, by managing it well, is absolutely unnecessary. Number 3 is definitely one of the top on the list is poor workmanship, delays, verbal promises that are not being able to justify. Number 4, many of you by now will be saying, why you never say about the VO, which is cost overrun lah. Means to say that the agreed contract was 50k, but end up the end contract is actually 70 or 80,000, much higher than the previous. And just imagine today you factor in all your budget for upgrading the next house and you have a budget to buy the second property, ended up you're not able to buy the second property because you're being charged VO, variation order, which means to say that the additional cost added because of change of materials and whatnot, and this will really become a very stressful part because it involves large amounts of money. So make sure you stay there until the end. So having said all these things, let's deep dive into the 6 key tips for you to avoid being in such situations. So number 1 is always to respect your neighbors and inform them early. If I were you and you're going to expect a major renovation, what I would do is to buy something nice, go to the neighbor's house, knock on the door, say hi, introduce yourself, be a nice neighbor, let them know what are the renovations that you're going to do and roughly how long is actually the timeline, and provide them with your contact number in case they have any complaints or they sense anything not right. They can always give you a message or drop you a call to let you know. And by doing this, right, you're not just being a nice neighbor, which you should be lah. Singapore very small only. Actually, when they want to know who you are, they go and Google your name, they can find out who you are one. Being a nice neighbor certainly pays, but jokes aside, right, sometimes when the neighbors actually come and complain, right, and go into your house and ask the neighbor to stop work and all this, the poor workers sometimes will not know what to do but just follow instructions to stop because they don't want to cause any problems, which results into delays of hours and hours until the contractor go down, go and talk to your neighbor, resolve everything already before they can continue. And sometimes if they complain in the morning and then the contractor only can come in the afternoon, means to say that the next 4 or 5 hours your contractor actually cannot do anything at all. So tip number 1 is not found in any books, but this is purely based on my own experience. If you hire a good architect or a contractor, right, the contractor can be the one who go over and say hi and talk to the neighbor and provide the name card and whatnot as well. That could be an easy way out for introverts like me lah. So number 2, never rely on verbal promises. And this is a huge one. Why? Because in this day and age, a lot of people are lazy to actually write text, some of them, and they prefer to actually talk on the phone. Or you tell your contractor, say that, hey, this thing needs to change. Then instead of texting you back, they say that he's driving and then they give you a call. And over the phone, they tell you everything, which you only can pay attention to half of the details. Why? Because you are driving or you are in the middle of the day when you are halfway into a meeting and you walk out to pick that call. And a lot of things are actually very, very grey and you don't really understand the jargons or the words that they use and all these things, which at the end of the day, it could be yourself, maybe you actually heard it wrong, it could be the contractor trying to mislead you. I won't know what is the actual case because I'm not there, but this is a result of miscommunication. And what I always believe is if you can be a little bit more hardworking, these days you actually have ChatGPT, you can use voice recording to record down what you actually say and what is your complaint, type it into a text and then you send over to the contractor inside the message. Talking over the phone, right? I rather send into text and then if the contractor could, they can reply either through voice recording, which you make sure you save the voice recording, or the contractor can reply by text as well. If in the case where they can only call you back to actually explain to you, you can then use your understanding to type it into a text and then reconfirm it through a message on WhatsApp in the group chat. By having written text, right, is so much clearer than actually just voice recording or worse still, phone calls. So tip number 3 is to make sure you document everything and make it online. So at the end when there's a dispute, that time you don't want the contractor, architect, whoever to say, no, I actually told your wife already. Your wife tells you that, oh yeah, I think they said that, or I'm not very sure. And you try to go to the group chat and look for records. And you cannot find record because the search function on WhatsApp may or may not be so smart these days yet. So there may be information and images that were not being saved and it is results into major disputes where you go to court, even you're not able to actually dispute it. So make sure you document everything, any conversation regarding costs and also timeline and whatnot. Make sure you screenshot, create a Google document where you and your wife actually share this document. All these screenshots about conversation about timeline, cost and all these things. Be a little bit more hardworking, screenshot this convo, upload them there so that you are able to track back on the important timelines or milestones or promises that the contractor actually made. Another thing is to make sure you go down and take photos weekly, and depending on the amount of works that you are doing, when you're doing a project that we are talking about like a 3 months time frame for a major renovation, I think going down weekly is reasonable. If I could be a little bit more hardworking like myself and my wife, the renovation was not that far away from my house. We actually went down almost every other morning, taking our morning walks to go and see. Why? Because there are times where you maybe go down, right, because the contractor is a little bit busy with other projects. There may be like one entire day nobody is there working on your house, and my contractor friends will be angry with me right now, but it is what it is, right? Because sometimes people may be overwhelmed or the contractor maybe never show up. So which day, what kind of works were supposed to be done, you should be on top of it and you should be going down to take a look and see what's the progress of the reno. Create a Google Drive, upload the photos that you've taken on every visit, and after 1 week, right, you're able to track back and see the progress of the renovation as well. And last but not least, if you're lazy, right, just take a walkthrough video, 30-40 seconds, depending on the size of the house. And why I'm saying so is because sometimes the more nasty customers get a little bit more attention. But it is what it is. Today, the client that is more on the ball usually gets a little bit more attention. So it helps. So tip number 4 is to always hire a qualified project manager or an architect. Focus more on quality instead of just looking for the cheapest one. Because when you're talking about renovation contract, yes, you may get 3 quotes, but the materials that are being promised may not be the same. And if you wish to find out more about hiring an architect, I have another video that actually talks about an architect building houses and whatnot, and the cost of rebuilding of a home. You can go check it out later when you are free. And importantly is focus on whether you can vibe with the project manager or not. Sometimes having a low cost, but it takes a lot away from you talking to this person or communicating with this person, or maybe when you're asking for the price and all these things, there were already a lot of red flags like very slow replies or very vague replies. These are things that you want to avoid. Why? Because it involves a 2 to 3 months to 12 or even 18 months worth of communication. You make sure you don't want to talk to somebody that you will vomit blood talking to them with, because by saving a bit here may end up costing you a lot more at the end. Why? Because of the time stress and also added costs that were not being communicated correctly during the point of quotation. So before I go into tip number 5, you're new to this channel, I also provide consultation on buying and selling homes, marketing of homes, and also reviews on the project, on the new launches that you are considering. So this is my number, feel free to reach out to me if you need any help. So tip number 5 5, always prepare a 15 to 20% contingency fund. So if you are prepared to spend $1.5 million to rebuild your house, you must make sure that the actual rebuild cost should be about $1.2 million. Why? Because there's always this VO that we talk about. This usually will add up because when they are trying to win the quotation, they always use the more basic kind of materials to actually quote you in order to have a more competitive quote. Of course, to win the quote, nobody quotes to lose, right? At that point, right, it may look very low. So one of the renovations that I have done, most of them will actually have come with another 20 to 30% increase in terms of the cost as compared to the earlier quote. And my partners, my contractors that are watching this, I don't blame you because it's normal. I know that along the way, I wanted to do a little bit more, like for example, if you haven't watched my house tour video, which I posted previously, right, I'll link them in the description. The ceiling that I mentioned, the wooden ceiling, it did cost about 40,000, and that was much lower. If I actually used the actual material that we thought we were going to use, right, it would have become 80,000. The renovation cost actually increased by about 5 to 10% just because I wanted to do something on the ceiling itself. Imagine today if you are not prepared to pay that kind of cost, or I'm not prepared to have a buffer of 20 to 10%, right, I think I'll be screwed because it will actually affect the plans and the payments and whatnot. So 15 to 20% if you're the very disciplined kind, willing to compromise and take a material that you don't like just to make sure you stay in budget. Or if you're someone like me, backside a bit itchy and happy wife, happy life, and your wife like this, you'll say, okay, just do. It's safer to prepare a 25 to 30% buffer to be safe. So last but not least is always get proper approvals. I'll link some of them inside the description. You can go and read. So don't just depend on your architect to tell you what can be done and what cannot be done. It's better to go and do some of your own due diligence to go and check it out, because the last thing you want is to build something that eventually has to be taken down, as mentioned in one of the disputes in the article itself. Don't be surprised that the cost of removing most of the time will be higher than the cost of building itself. If you follow these 6 tips, you most likely won't be landing yourself into scenarios where you have to go to the high court, like all the past cases that we actually spoken about. And if you wish to deep dive a little bit more, you can go and visit the BCA website. There's these common issues on the private estates, and also check out on the guidelines of building a semi-detached home or a terrace house. It's all inside the URA website. I'll link them inside the description. And if you're a little bit more sadistic and you want to go and see what kind of dispute other people went into, you can actually just go Google renovation disputes in Singapore and you can see a ton of information. It's good for you. Why? Because it helps you to avoid such disputes. And if you love watching disputes, I have another video that talks about legal disputes when it comes to buying, selling or renting a property, which is a podcast we had with a litigation lawyer, so you can go check this out if you are free. So that's all we have for today. Buying a house is always a happy situation. Make sure you don't get yourself into shitty situations, and make sure you share this video with your friends. Make sure your friends also don't get into such situations. So having said that, wish you all the best for all your property purchases. Need any help, give me a call, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you at the next one. Bye.